Welcome back, travelers, to Django Wexler's The Gathering Storm. Now, this is Chapter 7, and it covers the siege on Orzhov, the Orzhov Cathedral. Like any good siege, this one starts off with sewers. Vraska literally just has an army, like, hiding underneath it. And what's really cool is that you get a little bit of both the practicality and also the care that Vraska has for her people. You see, Vraska has access to an entire army, an entire guild, that would be more than happy to take down the snooty people in Orzhov. But instead of putting all of her people at risk, she gets a whole bunch of zombies and a bunch of giant bugs and some trolls that figured, hey, that would be fun to go blow stuff up. And that's the army instead. It's a bunch of rotting corpses that are basically going to die and are already dead, and so they don't have anything to them. They're just going to go and they're going to fight. So one of the giant stag beetles basically just breaks down a wall, and they start going through the laundry room up into the Orzhov. And it's such an epic battle. Like I've said before, you need to read this if you haven't already. It's readily available for you to just go and read it. It's super cool because it's just like paragraph on paragraph of rot zombies fighting against a bunch of like very shiny Orzhov guards, and things are going pretty well. Now, the whole idea is that this is a distraction. Kaya is going to go down into the catacombs while everybody else is going up to the top of the tower. Obviously, you have Hakara, you got Ral, and you got Vraska. They're working towards going up. Ral and Vraska are planeswalkers, so if things get bad, they can planeswalk away. It'd be fine. But Hakara, she's a meat person, so she will just die if she gets stuck up there. Kaya, of course, also a planeswalker. She can out if she needs to. But instead, she's going in further and further into the catacomb. Vraska really enjoys battling alongside Ral and Hakara. They're people that are very strong, very much they're her equal in power and in skill, and it reminds her of her time back on the Belligerent with all of her crew. She has a sense of kinship with them, and it's really cool because she's always felt like a stranger in her own home. She's always felt like an outcast on Ravnica, and her first taste of like actually being like, people like me, people really like me, is on Ixalan. So at her home, able to be near other people that are natives of her realm, she's able to identify with them. That's really cool. It's not like Carrick, where it's like, not Carrick, Zedek. Carrick is Phyrexian from a long time ago. He's a cool guy. But we're not talking about Carrick, we're talking about Zedek. Zedek, Vraska's best friend. Adorable little albino insect. So basically this story is split up between two different groups. You have the distraction group and then Kaya. And so the distraction group just keeps going up and up and up and up, and they're running into new problems. There's thralls, they're attacking and basically dismantling the zombies. It's getting to the point where it's just a smaller and smaller group. It's just Hakara, Ral, and Vraska that are the only like smart people there. The bugs are dead, the trolls are getting killed. Well, actually the trolls aren't dying because they can regenerate. That's a really cool moment. The fact that they still reference regeneration is just depicted in indestructibility now, thanks to the way things work in the actual card game. But they're up at the very top. Kaya's just down there. She's killing ghosts and stabbing stuff that tries to kill her. She goes into a wall to get past some guards. It's really cool. But when they're up there, there's these people that are basically archers, and they shoot this death magic arrow. Hits a troll. Now, normally it would just go and just like and break in. It's fine, right? But instead, it starts to like grow. And the dark magic begins to just like rot off the troll's arm, and the troll's like, ah, my arm! Except it's not really that smart, so it's like, and as a result, it just starts decaying and turns to a bunch of sludge on the ground, which is super cool and also super gross. But as a result, Ral sees that and he goes, Hakara, watch out! And Hakara's like, what? And she goes, thump, and she gets shot with the arrow. And the archers and they're like, oh no, she's gonna die. Hakara's gonna die. What are we gonna do? And so Hakara, being Hakara, just takes out a knife and carves out the giant chunk of flesh that was already like starting to rot. And she's like, don't need that. And she's just like, yeah, I'll probably just bleed out or I'll be fine. It could be one or the other. It's gonna be... And so Ral, real quick, he cauterizes it with his electric magic, and they keep running. And he's carrying Hakara. She's throwing some daggers. She's barely out, like she's going in and out. It's like a really very intense moment. It's very cool. If you haven't read War of the Spark, obviously you know what happens. But if this was the first book, it would have been so much better, because you kind of get to know the characters, and the characters mean something, and it's super cool, and I love it. And it's fantastic. But at the same time this is happening, Kaya's getting brutalized by two giant ghosts. These are ghosts that were giants, and as a result, are giant ghosts. And they're literally just brutalizing and punching, and they're like, snap a rib, and Kaya's like, snap, like her rib. And so she dispatches the 2 ghosts, she gets rid of them, and she's like, okay, now I just need to pick this lock, and I go in, and I'm going to kill the Obzedat. That's it. She's almost there. Same time that's happening, Ral and Vraska and Hakara, they're basically backed against the wall. They're barely making it against all these different spell slingers and swordsmen and all this stuff that's happening. And Vraska's like, Ral, I thought you had a plan. Where's your plan? What are we doing? And he's like, don't worry about it. There's a thunderstorm outside, which is going to be great. And then he just like summons some lightning through the wall, causes this huge explosion. He starts just flinging lightning because he's a living thunderstorm. Kaya walks into the room, and she sees the Obzedat. And the Obzedat, they're all sitting around. They're counting money or doing whatever they want. They're all basically ignoring her. The Obzedat is comprised of, I believe, only 5 members. It seems to describe more ghosts in the room at the time in the book. But if I'm not mistaken, you have Grandfather Karlov. This is right here. The other members of the latest composition, other than Karlov, was Enezescu, Fautumni, Vuliev, and Zilzagzaz. I'm not kidding, that's actually what it says, Zagzaz. I'm guessing that like a B must have written that guy's name, or it could be part B. The point is that she goes, and that Grandfather Carlos like, what are you doing here? Get out. I didn't summon you. And she's like, I'm not one of your servants, I'm here to kill you. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And so she just takes out 2 blades and kills 2 ghosts. And the first 2 are like, oh, snap! And they just dissipate, and everybody's like, no. And then 2 more, they say, hey, we don't want any trouble, we'll give you whatever you want, we'll give you as much gold as you need, just don't touch us, don't hurt us, just leave us alone, we don't want to die. And so she kills both of them. Now, in this book, it seems to kind of show that she kills more ghosts on the way to Grandfather Karlov, the last one. But maybe that's just like an oversight. Maybe it just wasn't clear enough. But the point is, there's one guy left. It's Karlov, and he's like, Taysa put you up to this, didn't she? And she's like, yeah. And he goes, you can't trust her. And she goes, yeah. And she just kills him. And when she kills him, this black ooze basically just like launches out of him, latches on her arm, runs up, and then it chains around her heart. And it's basically she's bound by the Obzedat. So it's a curse that was placed on her by killing all 5 members. Now, that's really interesting. So while Kaya is basically slumped at the bottom of this vault with gold all around her, you still have the rest of the team trying to escape, right? Well, remember how Ral made a giant hole in the wall? A airship appears, and it's like, huh? And there's a goblin piloting it, of course. And Ral's like, this is what I was here for. This is my ride. Let's go, guys. And so Vraska, Hakara, and Ral, they all get on there. What's left of their army basically is useless, so it's gone. Don't worry about it. And the 3 of them get on, they fly away, and he's like, let's get to the Nivik so that we can make sure that Hakara does not die. One personality trait of Ral that really gets like exemplified throughout this book and the last book that I really like is that he is able to see things in ways that people didn't intend them. For instance, the skyship itself is not designed off of sails. It uses this propulsion system that was initially meant for cattle. And after he kept launching the cattle into the sky, Ral was like, why don't you just use this to make stuff fly? And it's like, brilliant! So he just takes things that aren't actually meant to be there or connected or in any way useful, and he gives them a new use that makes them even better. And that's a really good example of the red-blue color combination working in action. And that's really cool. But yeah, Ral and the gang, they get away. Kaya's at the bottom of a vault, and that's where the story leaves us off. What's very, very interesting is that you have Hakara dying, you have Kaya trapped. Those are 2 very important characters, and their fates are currently in the balance. That's clever writing, because next week there won't be an episode for this, because it's going to be Comic-Con. They're not going to release the chapter because of that. So we're going to have to wait 2 weeks to see what happens exactly to Hakara and to Kaya. Also, I think it's worth noting, apparently the Azet, makes sense, have healers. Probably mostly to deal with burns and stuff like that, but the fact that they have healers on hand, I wonder if they're going to be people that work for the Selesnians, or if they're just random people that happen to be healers that they just hire to work for the Obzedat. It's very interesting. Or if we'll see some kind of fire-based healing. That'd be cool. But the point is, that is the 7th chapter. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have been enjoying this. I haven't really done War of the Spark episodes because I just needed kind of a bit of time away from War of the Spark. It's the more you read it, the worse like you begin to see that. Like I said, it's the strokes. And doing the Mario Maker episodes was much more of a relaxing opportunity, and we're gonna have more of those coming up. But yeah, thank you guys so much again for watching. Please share the series with your friends if they don't know about the story or they want to read the story. This is pretty much beat for beat what happens. Until then, travel well.